welcome to another edition of the Larry Conley Radio Show, where we play all the hits, none of the time. I'm David Conley, and I'm with the Glue Clue, which includes Rest Coach Mama Elaine, and of course our fearless leader, who shall remain nameless in certain courts that have to do with child support. At any rate, we got a great guest tonight. We're going to have a good show talking about all things leadership. And so, without further ado, let me introduce our fearless leader. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. He's a deputy chief over there in beautiful downtown Collinsville, Illinois. It's Larry Conley.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the show. It's hot outside, man. The summer, St. Louis don't mess around. Like it'll go from like 3 degrees to like a little warm. And then, hot. We're here. Summer's here. Water went out. So anyway, it's been a hot day, but we're glad to be back, and thank God for air conditioning. And we didn't have that growing up. We had big fans in the window.
Yes, in the window. Mm-hmm.
And still here.
Blew on each other.
Right.
You remember those days, don't you, David? You know.
I do.
Thank God for Central Air. Mom did the best she could.
Had fans.
Yeah. Had the Martin Luther King fans with John F. Kennedy on one side and Martin Luther King on the other side, and the funeral home advertisement.
So, always singing none but the righteous.
Yeah. It was on the wooden stick, and you kind of wave your fan in there.
We shall overcome. Even the heat.
Right. Right.
I remember that growing up. You go to most of our friends and relatives' house, and they always had 3 pictures on the wall. You had Jesus, and you had Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy on the wall. That was the trifecta, all the saviors on the wall. So there you go. So we're talking a long time ago. You kids probably don't realize, like, who is John F. Kennedy, and hopefully you all know Jesus. So I mean,
right.
Offend anyone, but hopefully,
right.
But anyway, we're lining up for another great show. David and I, when we've been doing this, I guess, over a decade now, and it's always fun. We're going to be, I guess, by the time you all see this show, we have been to EDI Carl Holmes, the Carl Holmes EDI Executive Development Institute down in beautiful downtown New Orleans, Louisiana, located at the campus of historic Dillard University. So we'll talk about that more probably after the show, because we'll know how well received it was. But we've been down there for 8 or 9 years now, and that's always a great time to hang out with our brothers and sisters in the fire service who are looking to be promoted, level up, if you will, and contribute to the fire service in bigger capacities to really help out, have voices at some of the necessary tables. And it was always a great forum for that whole week of EDI to get all the participants to learn. So David and I have been honored to be part of the teaching cadre and to make sure that we add what we know about leadership and personal leadership to the teaching cadre, to the curriculum. So so looking forward to it. The thing I like about going to the Carl Holmes EDI is because they speak to you. Everyone there, we call everybody chief. Whether you're a chief or not, doesn't matter your rank. Everybody is chief. And we do that because we're trying to plant a seed of ownership in your advancement. Now, you may or may not want to be a chief, and you don't have to be a chief. But what you will get some of the takeaways you will get out of the experience is you will know that your job is more than just coming to work and doing the necessary chores or whatever on the job. You will know a bigger spectrum of what the job and the why you're doing things and things of that sort. And understanding the why is real important, but also not only understanding the why is important. One thing I like is that you learn how to be a leader in the fire service before you're an official leader, before you get a badge, before you get um, the official pinned on ceremony. And everybody's not going to get that in the fire service, but you need everybody. Everybody's important. So if you spend the next 30, 35 years on the job and you never promote, it's no excuse to still not to be a leader of yourself, at least. And when you become a leader of yourself, then you become a better leader and better team member for your team. And those are the kind of things we need. Actually, even though we need better leaders all the time in the fire service, you know who we really need is we really need people who understand the assignment. you know, if you come to work for the next 30 years and you're a private or a firefighter, I don't want to mistakenly say just a firefighter, because there's no such thing as just a firefighter with the work that we do. When you're a positive contributor to that team, you make it easier for the official leader of that team. So I've always wanted to, when we talk about glue growing leaders using empowerment is that key word in it. I've always tried to be the kind of company officer when I was a captain to try to make sure that my crew was empowered. They knew what I knew. They knew their job. They knew my job. I wanted all of us to be interchangeable, because you never know at any given time where someone has to step up to the plate. And if you don't empower them, they always have to wait for marching orders. You're doing it wrong. You're really doing it. So that requires a certain amount of guidance, and hopefully the people in charge feel the sense of empowerment as well, and pass it on to you as a crew member. But even if they don't, what you need to do is get David and I to come in and teach a class for you.
Come with it. Come on, preach on.
But no, but seriously, whether we do it or not, being the leader of you is always priority one. And when you're the leader of you, then everything else will fall in line. The more leaders I have on my team, whether they're official leaders or whatever, it makes the job serving our citizens a whole lot easier. So you need to be a leader before you get the badge. You need to have your personal leadership intact before it's official. And not just saying it like some kind of self-help guru affirmation you do in the mirror every day. You need to actively be doing it at work. And I don't know too many people who, if they were to say, pull out a tool and say, let me learn more about this, that somebody won't walk up to them and say, hey, what are you doing there? Hey, I'm trying to learn more about this tool. Okay, well, let's work together. You don't realize that little piece of action that you just did goes a long way in your personal leadership, and you become better for you and your team. Excuse me, allergies. So the reason I'm excited tonight is because we have firefighter Jessica Jackson, who's or let me rephrase that, acting captain. Get it right. I want to get so she might get reach through the screen here and smack a brother, But
I know you
acting captain Jessica Jackson, and Jessica Jackson been acting captain a little over 6 months at her engine house since her captain retired, and patiently waiting for the promotional process to happen in St. Louis for the St. Louis Fire Department. The reason I brought Jessica on, because for a long time, I met Jessica years ago, probably over 17 years ago now, when I was assigned to engine company 8 as a private, and Jessica came to the 8s fresh out the academy. And at the time, the lead instructor, I went down to the academy for some business, and I heard this loud voice coming from the tower. I'm like, "Come on, you can do it. What are you doing? You're too slow." And I said, "Boy, that sounds like some leadership going on over there. Who's that loud voice over there?" And Jessica's 6'3", so she was taller than everybody in the academy. So you saw the loud voice, you saw towering over people and motivating people, and she was a recruit. And I told the lead instructor at that point, I said, "Look, you got yourself a leader over there." He said, "Yeah, she's the truth already." So we were able to recognize then that we had something special coming on the St. Louis Fire Department. So I said, "Well, where engine house is she going to?" He said, we don't know yet." So next thing we know, she's at engine house 8, but she was on the B shift, and I was on the C shift. But there, we began to see that wasn't a fluke of what she was doing in the academy. She came and really took like a fish to water when it came to firefighting over at Engine House 8. And we weren't the busiest fire company in the city. However, the 8s were in the area that if they said fire in the house, it was a fire in the house. And most of the time, the 8s were first in. And we got a lot of awards coming out the house. Little bitty engine house, you could barely fit the fire truck. But nonetheless, it was a great time and a great experience. But Jessica was on a great crew. She had a captain, Captain Kevin Shearer was a great teacher. She had a great battalion chief, and then she had a great supporting crew when you talk about Garen Mosley and that you see. You probably see a lot if you watch any St. Louis TV. Garen's always on TV. It's Mr. Captain Hollywood there, But the crew were really great trainers. And Jessica was always a good student. She always listened. Sometimes she's very hard-headed and had to get some life experiences to figure it out. But after she did, then she learned those lessons and used those lessons to move on. She moved on from there to a couple of more engine houses. Right now, she's stationed at Engine House 22 in St. Louis, and she's the boss. And every day, she's the boss. They do training as her being the boss. Every day, she's the boss. She's always doing something to better her crew. And not only that, she does a lot of different things outside of the fire house or the confines of the St. Louis Fire Department. She's in school, finally, after long talks about that, but she's in school and getting her bachelor's degree in fire science. She's got her instructor too, and not to mention just any class that comes to town that she can make. She's at that class. She doesn't wait for the city to pay for it. If it's something she can afford to do, she makes time to go do it. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is because these are the traits of a leader before you get the official gold badge. She's doing all of this as a silver badge person and doesn't need the official accolades of it. She's doing it anyway, which means by the time the official thing happens, she's going to be a plus as an officer to the St. Louis Fire Department. So we're looking forward to that day. So anyway, I figured since David and I mostly talk about leadership is not something that has to be appointed to you. Leaders just something that you do, who you are, who you develop into. Then what better person to discuss that with tonight, and who epitomizes what we talk about than Jessica. And I would like to take some credit for it in the sense that when we first rolled out Glue, we did a soft opening here in St. Louis at the community college. I remember Bobby Alden came to town, and we had a nice crowd out. And Jessica was one of the first people to attend it. She didn't, I was just like, hey, take a chance. I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but one of our brochures, I think, even has her on it as a participant in our scenario. So So she was a believer from the get go. So I would like to say, that was like when she saw that, experience that class, she said, "Hey, I too can be a leader. Let me go do some of the stuff I learned in glue. And then, who knows where I might end up." So that's probably not the story, but it sounds good. But anyway, we're gonna for the next little bit, we're gonna talk to Jessica and get her take. I know we talk about it. I know I've done it from personal experience, but somebody who's actively doing it now, we want to get Jessica's input and her take on her motivation on being a leader um, without the badge, or being a leader, period, and really maximizing her personal leadership. So, ladies and gentlemen, acting captain of the St. Louis Fire Department, Jessica, better known in the hood as Jessica Jackson.
All right.
I get you quite often. Thank you, Garen Mosby. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. This is family here, so this is awesome that I finally get to be on this podcast. It's been a while.
Yeah,
I've been
well,
told
you was on years ago.
so. You said what, Larry?
No, I was just saying you were on her years ago. I think you and Janevelin and a few other people when we had ladies' night years ago. So it's
Yeah,
been
that was good.
yeah, so we're still doing it. Jessica is like family. I've helped raise her kids. She helped raise mine. We spent the night over in each other's house, and um, being a mom who was pretty much doing it herself, we all were a village and helping make sure that our kids are straight and narrow. And I must say, I guess in the big scheme of things, all our kids are grown now and doing big things. So
Ooh, they are. They are.
yeah,
We
yeah,
did it.
yeah, we did it. Yeah, they were all
I don't get
doing.
no more child support. You don't give no more child
Hey,
support.
hey, hey, hey! Thank God. I can put some gas in the car now and eat more than those ramen noodles. So but it's fun being on this side of it. Yeah, yeah. I forgot that is kind of a loss. It was a loss. It was a gain for me and a loss for you because you don't get child support.
I was I was prepared for it.
Yeah, that's why you're trying to become a captain. I get it. Got to make
Make up for that loss. Yeah,
right, right,
That's
right.
right.
I feel you, girl. I feel you. Anyway, so uh, let's kick it off, Jessica. I know you and I have a lot of conversations that are, over the phone, over a drink, over whatever, just discussing life and the job and everything. And a lot of the times I say to myself, sometimes we come up with these great revelations. I said, man, that that would have been good if we recorded that. We said some, so hopefully they help us tonight. Tonight it'd be like we say some good stuff, but it won't be that stuff we said. Maybe we should all have a drink in our hand. We're
Have a
doing
drink or two.
this podcast is sponsored. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's sponsored by Jack Daniels.
right. It's
Jack and Daniel.
Right, right, right.
right.
But seriously, I want to. So every day you get up and you go to work, and and I know every day is a chance to be excellent and give our citizens the best of what you have to offer. Excuse me. And I know these days sometimes. Um, well, let me say this, and everybody knows this. If you're watching this, you most likely or a firefighter. We have a lot of downtime at the firehouse. I mean, so a lot of times people don't seem to get excited until the bell rings. And when the bell rings, then everybody like hear the hero music and jump in action and help the citizens. But what motivates you to train and keep things fresh and moving and fluid and active during that downtime before the bell hits? And how do you get people to listen to you because you don't have the gold badge yet? So how do you motivate the crew to move like you want them to move, even though you're not the official leader yet?
Part of it, I would say, is pride. Um, it's funny when we come on this job, St. Louis, their quote is justifiably proud. I've probably said that more times in my career, just in general for the job, but I actually mean it. I am proud. And so, when you go on scene, you want to make sure you know what you're doing. You don't want other people showing you up. Years ago, when I was at the Eights, Garen Mosby said something about me being competitive. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I didn't play sports. I'm not competitive. He was like, oh, yes, you are. Because, just the smallest thing, even raising a flag and getting back down to the turntable, just the smallest little thing, Garen was like, make sure you beat them. Make sure you're better than them. You're going to make that plug faster than them. You're going to do this better than them. And I was like, okay, let's do it, not realizing I am quite competitive. And when you know that with firemen, you can use that as an advantage. And so you don't want other people to outdo you. You want to make sure you know what you're doing. You don't want to look like a fool. You got the public looking at you. So with that, we have plenty of downtime, plenty of times to work on stuff. If something doesn't go right, we adapt, we overcome, and then get back to the firehouse and figure it out. What did we do wrong? How can we make it better? And so when I get up in the morning, I love my job. We all have good days. We all have bad days. We talked about that earlier. So when I go to work, I just always try to leave everything at home, all my problems, all the stuff that's going to make me, my mental preparedness not be there. So that way, when I get to work, I'm ready to go and we can work on what we need to work on.
Good deal. So you wrote, so give me a put me inside of the spirit and the brain and the mindset of a Jessica Jackson getting up, going to work, and when you get to work,
Sure you want that?
walk me through a 24-hour day. And
you
how
sure you want to be in here?
Okay.
Sure you want to be in here?
Right. Not really, but it might be good for the ratings.
All right, well, we'll do the radio version now. It's actually changed, I'd say, it's changed in a couple different steps from firefighter to, having a leader that wasn't such a good leader and me stepping up to, we got my captain, she retired. And so now I have to step up no matter what, to now they've appointed me as acting captain. And so now I'm at the point to where no matter what, I'm in charge ultimately. So, even before it actually starts before I go to the firehouse. I make sure my clothes are ready, everything's prepared. So that way I'm not rushing in the morning. That way I can have time for myself when I get to work, that I'm prepared and ready for them. Kind of goes back to that mental preparedness thing, mentally unprepared, pardon me. Recently, I've just started walking in the morning. I get up at 5 and I just walk for 30 minutes. With me taking classes for college, preparing for another captain's test, and then also the responsibilities of work. I needed to figure out some time for me, something that was just mine that I could just release. So now I get up at 5 a.m. I go for my little 30-minute walk. I get back usually somewhere about 5:45, depends on how long it takes me to wake. I get my stuff ready. I go to work. I be there at 6:30. I'm relieving captains. Before, when I was a private, I got there at 7. That's what everyone expected. That's what everyone agreed on. We make relief at 7. Now, you get there a little earlier because it's captains. As a leader, I want that time to speak with the captain and discuss about stuff without all the interactions of the guys or their jokes or, their input. And so we get there a little early. I allow them to do what they got to do. 8:00, I do roll call. Not every engine house does roll call. I do. I want them to know what I expect. Maybe what's going on for the day. What am I cooking for dinner? We got to figure out what's going to be on the menu. Then they do their housework and then we train. I try to let them decide, hey, if there's like a new guy subbing or something, I'll say, hey, is there something you want to go over? Sometimes, one guy one day said ladders. So we started going over ladders. We watched some YouTubes, pull some ladders out. Um, there was, I asked them about familiarizations. I do one every cycle, and I let everyone have an option to pick and choose. Every cycle, someone picks something or somewhere. They don't choose, and we'll be driving to the store, and I'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute, let's pull over here," and
Mm-hmm.
I find something for us to look at. Not always do we get to, if we don't pre-plan with a company, then sometimes they won't let us in or they're too busy. But outside of that, train a little bit. We have Forest Park right down the street, so it's great to go down there to make plugs and throw water and do some evolutions. And as far as leadership goes, I really try to encourage them by doing it with them. Yeah, I have 17 years on. Someone called me a veteran the other day, and I was like, "What?" Because I still feel like I have like 10 years on, and I still want the tip. I still want to go in. I still want to fight fire. And so I still try to do this. I expect them to do the same thing as I would. So if I ask you to climb a ladder, I'm climbing a ladder too. If I ask you to pull off hoses, I do too. But it only betters me, and it kind of gives me that reassurance. Yeah, you can still do this. And so, and I guess that's how our day is, and if by chance something happens and say we didn't do it perfectly, then that's a great time to come back and nip it in bud right then and there. Come back to the firehouse, pull out some SOGs, pull out some tools, figure it out.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you observed from leaders before, when you were a private and early on in your 17 years that, well, is I guess a A and B part question, but some things that you observed that you said, hey, that's something I'm going to take with me and that you may still do today or encourage among the people who you're charged with. And the B clause is some things that you said, oh, I absolutely won't do that or should never do that or I didn't like how that affected me, so I won't do that. Like what are the positives and negatives that you learned from leaders you had that makes you the leader you are?
Interesting that you asked that because I honestly think I've had one of the best captains on the department.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think I've had one that needs some work. And
Mm-hmm.
so one captain was the type that he knew how to deal with everyone individually. So like he learned each person's learning style. So he
Mm-hmm.
was able to say, if I just let this person know I'm disappointed, then they're going to autocorrect and fix it themselves. But maybe this person, I need to show them, put some hands on it and let them see this is how you're supposed to do it. And so his teaching style was phenomenal. When I first came on the job, I had to be an EMT. And for me, I need to do it. I'm that type of person. Just let me do it. And so he appointed me as the EMT on the truck. I did all medical calls. If I needed help, I would just look at him and he knew I needed help. Eventually it got to where I quit looking at him, you know. And so I try to use that in my type of teaching too is okay, well today you're doing this and you're doing that. And if you need help, I got you. I don't have anyone brand new like I was when I came on, but just learning people's teaching style, learning how to motivate, because everyone's motivation and desire to be motivated and all that is a little different. So finding what works for each person is kind of where I'm still learning a little bit. So far, so good. I'm getting them to do some stuff I want them to do that they normally wouldn't. Um, and then on the opposite end of it, actually, I did it, and that's micromanaging. When I went to the 32s for a few years. It's a really busy house. It's like the third busiest, maybe second, third busiest house in the city. I went there intentionally so that way I could ride the seat when my captain was off. I wanted to get the experience. And one day a guy came to me and was like, Jess, you micromanage and we can do the job. And I was just like, no, I don't. So that got in my feelings. I went home and I Googled micromanaging. What does that mean? And what is he talking about? And I was like, oh, I could do.
It was your picture, and they're like,
It's like, oh
mm,
no. And
mm,
so basically, micromanaging, for those who are listening, if you don't actually understand, it's when you don't have faith in yourself or faith in your crew. And therefore, you try to tell them exactly how to do it. Well, these guys have been on the job and they knew how to do their job. And there's more than one way to, I guess how it's the old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Well, there's more than one way to do some stuff on the job, and you can get the same results. And that was how, one of my captains was. And it drove me nuts. So I can imagine how it was when I did it. And so we had a few discussions about it, and I just kept reinforcing the fact that it still got done the way you wanted it done, just not in the mechanism of how you wanted it done. I guess that's the way I don't know how else to say it. He, and the captains were that, I had that would micromanage. It was kind of like, for instance, mopping the floor. We got to mop the floor every day because we use the kitchen. This person would take the bucket for us. And I'm like, oh, I can do this. Well, you guys don't make the bucket right, but the floor gets mopped every day. If you don't make the bucket for us, the floor will get mopped every day. And so it's just simple stuff, but that leads to bigger things too. How you drive and stuff like that. So I really try not to micromanage. I really try and let the guys, make their way. If I see somewhere along the line that, okay, we're going to this run and you've passed it, then maybe I'll say something, but I let the guys, pretty much do their thing. They got time on, so.
Yeah, that's a weird balance you have to do, especially when you go from one uh, role to the next. I remember when I
Mhm.
was promoted to captain, there were things that I was just used to years of doing it a certain way that was a little bit of what I was taught, and what I was taught along with the way I preferred to do it, and so when I got promoted and people weren't doing it that way, I was like, well, they're doing it wrong, and so it, it did became one of the where I had to sit on my hands, shut my mouth, grit my teeth, and then check the end result. And if the end result was the same, then like you said, it's more than one way. And then they also let me know too, I was doing it wrong in the sense that um, there are things when you are the official leader, captain, chief, or whatever. There are things that you can do that your firefighters can't do, but you can do everything they do. So you got to find that balance between you must not be doing enough of what you're supposed to be doing if you're worried about everything that they're doing. You must not be doing enough as efficient as you can. Because if you get called to the carpet from your superiors, you can't say, well, I was busy helping with wash the fire truck, or I was busy making hot water. I didn't have time to do the stuff that was required. I was doing this because they was doing it wrong. That's not going to be that's not going to sit well with your chief or whoever is your superior. So you have to find that balance between making sure it gets done, making sure it gets done to the desired end, but giving them respecting your crew
Mhm.
to use maximize what they know to get the job done, and then it makes the job for everybody a lot easier. That's a big part of empowerment, you know.
One
mm,
more, one more thing, David.
mm,
There was a time when there wasn't the best leadership, and me and Larry had talked about this on certain occasions, and where I didn't have, so you have a senior man in there or a senior person, and then you have your captain, and those are kind of the people that decide how things are going to go for the day, what kind of training you're going to do and stuff like that. There was a time I didn't have either one of that. My senior man didn't step up, my captain wouldn't step up, and me and Larry talked about it, and so it became a situation where I would step up, you know, if things didn't go right on a run. I would pull out SOGs to the point to where the captain would be like, okay, well, next day we're going to go over SOGs. Like, we already did. They would wait till it was, like 4 days later, or situations to where it didn't even have anything to do with the captain, but just stuff that I learned from the eights or the 32s that they didn't do in other engine houses. I'd start to do it. And they're like, well, no, that's not your job. I'm the driver. I'm supposed to do that. Instead of saying, well, do it, I would just do it. And that's kind of that competitiveness, that pride that firemen have pride, and they're very competitive. And I'd be dang if they're going to let me outdo them. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them like that. So using that, then I would also say, okay, well, I'm going to do this every day if you're not going to do it. All right, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Now, as an acting captain, some of the stuff I did years ago is still being done because I took the lead and did it. And so
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying, oh, he ain't doing it, or, gripe about it or complain about it, you get a lot of guys in the firehouse that want to gripe and complain. And then next thing you know, Tom and Harry's jumping on their bandwagon. I'm the person that goes the other way. I go
Mm-hmm.
make it work. So,
Very cool. Out of all of there's a lot of leadership out there. A lot of people have their takes on it or what have you. Um, and you got, nearly 20 years doing this. What would you say, throughout your career, the evolved leader in you is different than, say other leaders like, um, I don't know, like a Larry Conley? What's different about you than him, other than, better to look at?
oh, nice. I do have that one in the bag.
Right,
But I get that
right,
from
sure.
Um, let's
Don't we all,
see.
you know?
um, I know I am. So prior to the fire department, I took care of the elderly. And I ended up doing that for about 20 years. I love the elderly. My empathy and my compassion. Um, but then again, I'm very emotional too. Larry can contest to that. He's my guy I call when I'm too emotional and I don't want to act on emotion. But I think a lot of it has to do with my passion, my empathy, not saying that Larry doesn't, not saying that other great leaders don't.
Sure.
I know I'm very passionate and I care wholeheartedly, sometimes too deeply that Larry ends up hearing about it and I have to call him and vent. I don't want to act out of emotion. We recently just had this discussion about a month ago. Um, I still to this day I get emotional, and I don't know if it's the estrogen. I don't know what it is. Mama Lane, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just get a little emotional, but I think it's just my passion, my drive to want to care for people and make sure everyone is okay. Um, my first captain on the job used to have a T-shirts made for us, and it said in Latin, "Bringing order to chaos," and that's what we do. And I take it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
So on, person's worst day, I have to be there and I have to make sure my crew is ready to be there. I don't care if it's the first time we've met this person or the 10th time. Obviously something is wrong and I'm passionate to make sure to make their day better.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah, I think that comes through because Jessica has now done even better at mastering doing what needs to be done and then venting about it later. Her and I've we've been part of our own training cadre for a long time over the years. Me, her, and a few other people, and so we'd be on the training ground doing live fires or whatever. And one of the other trainers are doing something wrong. Boy, I could see her. When she running toward me, like like one of the movies in slow motion, like no. let me tell you what's going on. Calm down. So we have to maintain because it wasn't that what she said wasn't important or didn't need immediate attention. What I was concerned about as a leader is that as students, you don't want the students to feel like that the leadership is disjointed and especially live fire and things like that. So I would say, okay, well let's talk about it over here and then let's gotta take a break so we can reset. Let's do that. But sometimes Jessica's ready to wreck shop, shut it down right there. She would stop, drop, shut them down. That's how.
Mhm.
Uh-oh.
It's a rough rider's roll, huh?
Right. That's how Jessica Jackson roll. Oh,
Right, right.
so so anyway,
I
she's learned how to control that. One question I wanted to ask too, since and we both been knowing this person for 17 years. Um, what would today's Jessica tell first year Jessica? If first year Jessica was looking at today's Jessica and say, "Hey, tell me something about leadership and tell me something about this thing called the fire service and all that." What a little girl? Well, not in your case, 6'3", but little girl on the job. Um, here's what you need to know, and here are the pitfalls. Yeah. Um, what would you tell young Jessica in her 20s?
First off, you notice you done mentioned how tall I am a few times. Stop hating. Just-
I'm not.
One day you'll be tall
It's,
and
yeah, one day I'll grow up
mm,
and be just like.
Hmm.
But for
He just
now,
don't like
one
being
day.
called shawty.
you took the words out of
Uncle
my mouth.
Shouty.
Right. But anyway,
What would
yeah.
I? So it's actually a couple things. As a woman on this job, women tend to take things personally, and there's no room for that on this job. You have to be thick-skinned. Another would be to never stop learning. Initially, when I came on, I jumped in, was taking classes, and then I did a big break. Um, I was raising kids and thought I was too busy, and I didn't take classes or do anything for myself for a long time, for some years. And then I jumped back into it, maybe 5, 6 years ago, but was to never stop because, the change in fires and the way they behave and what we do on this job is never ending. And so I would have said, stay in college, finish your degree. Even if I got onto the fire department that first year, I could have went back to school. I could have made it work. I'm making it work now. Where there's a will, there's a way. So schooling would be the most important. Most important. The second part would be, not to take things personal. And then I think I did a good job of keeping some mentors, good mentors around. But finding those good mentors earlier on, and being able to talk to them. This job, no one knows everything. No one will ever know everything on this job. Um, you can read every book there is, you're going to forget something.
Hmm.
You can't remember it all. And so having people in your pocket when you do have a question that's you can ask them anything or everything, I think is a good one too. Um, I guess there's a whole lot. Don't go here. Don't go out with that person. But we won't get into that.
Hmm. Yeah, some of those cases are still pending. No, but the other thing is, like Larry said early on, you were in what the soft launch or inaugural launch of the Empower model, and then you've been in Larry's presence for a number of years. Getting any of that Empower model wisdom. Um, and this is to put you on the spot since you're on our show, and this is a way, just so you know, to get quickly cut off if you say the wrong thing. But no, seriously, is there? Do you
What do I
see?
need to do?
Right, right. Do you
Yeah,
see?
I got the offering plate.
Thank you very much. Do you see? Like yourself using any of the elements of the model? And if so, how are they working for you in, I'm just saying with regard to being, sort of the leader even before you were getting the gold badge, like that's one of the things that we talk about when we go out. So you being the sort of living embodiment of that, I'm just curious as to, do you actually see the impact of, some of those empower model principles on your life and your leadership?
So I can't give you like specific examples on the Empower model. I don't remember what they are. It's been so long since I've taken it. But
Hmm.
me and Larry have talked over the years, and I get, how do I say this? I get a special version of the empowerment model. I get a special version of glue because I get Larry telling me this stuff on a constant basis. I will say though, I do specifically remember when I took glue, I was on the stage and I had to deal with you, David. At the time we were doing some skit and we were at a restaurant or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember taking away from it on what is the best way to be positive and to get people to do what I want them to do, but in a positive way. And so I know the empowerment model, even today, I was just speaking with someone the other day about it, on how at the job, I don't want to just be a leader. I want to empower them to be better than me. I want to empower them and give them the tools to do my job and my chief's job, and so I can't give you like specific examples on the empowerment model because I get it on the sly.
Hmm.
Me and Larry
But some
talk
of
on
what you're talking about with the training, and with making sure that everybody is trained and things like that. A lot of that, the proactivity seems to come through. Of course, the empower model is the E for envision, the M for mutual victory, the P for being proactive, O for organizing priorities, the W for working together or synergizing the team, the E for empathetic listening. So you're really taking in what the other person is saying and getting to know your crew and the people around you. And the R is for the recharge, which would be things like training and increasing your knowledge, but also your cultural IQ, your emotional IQ, and that kind of thing. And rest, of course, because I'd be kicked out of the will if I didn't say that while I have rest coach
Elaine,
Mother Elaine
let's
on
just
the
getting
call.
prepared.
But yeah, so with all of those being the elements of the model, just some of what you've been talking about, you can see
Mhm.
that you, are using it. And the fact that you're using without being able to recall those elements is, also a testament to you and what you're doing. So that's good.
I'm blessed in that aspect that I have Larry. Me and Larry talk about the end game on a lot of in different aspects because there's no one end game. There's several end games. The end game trying to get the guys to do what I want. The end game trying to get the gold badge. The end game on me finishing college or the end game when he was finishing college. And so yeah, there's a lot of those aspects that we just talk. It's not like we talk empowerment. We just talk, and that's just how we is all of those aspects throughout our conversation. So I'm one of those ones. I'm just a little bit blessed.
Well, yeah, it's always a when you're discussing things with, and it's not just a one way street. A lot of times when Jessica and I talk, it makes me reflect a lot on things that I'm thinking about. I'm not always the most. Um, I would like to be in my head. I am very empathetic and very compassionate, but uh, we weren't raised that way. but uh,
Mm.
She did the best she could, you know.
Yes,
Tough
she
as
did.
nails, tough as nails.
yeah,
Mhm.
but we but what I'm saying is that um, so I have to learn. I do learn and pick that up that there is a you need some compassion with your passion, you know, and when you are able to bring that, then I think you do an even better job for our citizens. I know on my crew when I was at the 13th, I had Galen Taylor and Jessica. Now Jessica's gonna laugh because she know where I'm going with this, but we call her Galen Huggy Bear because no matter what situation is in, you almost don't have to give the patients any medicine, medical care. So if Galen sees him hurting, he's gonna hug him and talk to him and almost say a prayer with him, and they'll be like, you know what, I don't even need the ambulance now because you did you did wonders, because that's the most empathetic, compassionate brother I know when it comes to patient care. We call him Huggy Bear for all that, but but so I was able to cheat for a long time because Galen was on my crew almost the whole time I was at the 13th, and so where I'm like where I might be not be as compassionate about stuff because I was busy trying to make sure that everyone stayed safe and we got the correct resources in the timely manner and they got the correct care that fill in the gap, that fill in the blank, that kind of stuff that might slip through the cracks when it comes to compassion. That's where Galen was masterful at that. So I was lucky to have him on my crew. You remember a few years ago they had a rescue. He was working on another ship at the 13th. They had a rescue where they had to pull these people out. And I think they got Galen on camera on a snapshot from the newspaper after he rescued this lady and got her down onto solid ground. He's hugging. You don't even know this lady. So it's just, yeah. So when you got to hug your bird, I ain't got to be compassionate, So, but it is. But Jessica possessed those same qualities when she's worked with me on overtime on the ship with if she was working there because Galen was off that day, you can best believe that patient or we had to help somebody to fire something like that, they're going to get she's not going to let it go until they get what they need. They need Red Cross, they need an ambulance, they need to go back in and get a teddy bear or something. She's going to go the extra mile to make sure. And sometimes she went back and got the kids teddy bears for them too, but no.
Wait, what?
Amen.
but seriously, so that's what those are things that make a great firefighter and great leader as well. And if I lacked on any of it, I had to, step that up as far as I'm concerned. Um, the, the one of the things we talked about over the years, and you really have turned it up. Maybe the past 5 to 10 years, almost the last 5 to 10 years, you really ramped stuff up. Um, Based on some of the stuff we talked about a long time ago. Do you see what kind of value you now see in the statement I told you a long time ago about it's okay to work for the fire department, which is the St. Louis Fire Department, but it's even better to work for the fire service, more fulfilling and all that. And so since then, you've done things like, got some certificates, you're an instructor, you lead instructor, you in school, you all that kind of stuff. Even though you didn't just immediately do it, and we had to talk about it, in different increments over time. What kind of value do you see working for in your personal leadership journey, working for the fire service and not just exclusively for the fire department?
Uh, I got a lot out of it, and I learned more. It's funny. It actually started with you. You kind of set me on that path. We were doing the Fire 1 and 2 class, and then evaluate out in the county. And so prior to that, I was all just St. Louis City. They take a class, I took it. That was it. With you opening doors so that, and it wasn't just me, there was a couple of us actually would start going out to the county and doing stuff with them. And then once you make friends and you get to know people, and they're like, oh, this class is given, and I was able to do other things outside the fire department for the fire service. I think honestly it made me a better person and a better firefighter and a better leader. um, I had a chance to go to Saint or to Switzerland, Zurich, Switzerland, and that was a job swap where two firefighters came here and two of us went there. And then I had a chance to go to Africa. Of course, we went. Five of us, a cadre of 24, went to Africa. And so seeing how there's 3 million people in Africa and the resources that they didn't have, and then going to Zurich and having, the same amount of people they have in San Francisco, um, and having all the money in the world and all the brand new apparatuses and stuff, and then coming back to St. Louis really humbled me. I really made me love St. Louis even more, because and we're like in that sweet spot in the middle. So it made me want to do more. It made me want to be a better leader. It made me, I seen how some people were working with really nothing. And here I have a lot. We have a lot of resources compared to, say, Africa. And so, learning with other people, you see a different perspective or, a different way to do things. I was able to bring that back and say, hey guys, we went over this today and, maybe we could try this or, well, let's watch this video. Or so ISFSI, my guys didn't even know what that was. And because of you, and then taking classes outside the fire department in the fire service, I was able to bring that back to my guys. And so they were able to see some things that they probably wouldn't have, unless they got someone else involved.
No, that's great. Because it is, it is more fulfilling. I think, and let me say this: it's not that if you don't walk the path that we did, that we would you're not going to have a fulfilling career in the fire service. That's not the message I'm trying to get here. But what I am saying is that there is a lot of value in seeing the bigger picture of the fire service, and then that could be a benefit to your crew when you come back to the crew, and it could be a benefit in promotions. It could be a benefit in a lot of ways because there is a lot of ways to look at things, even though we principally all fight fire the same way because water puts out fire, air, too much air is bad for fire. That's a universal truth. However, learning from others, exchanging ideas, exchanging information, it's a great way to have a more fulfilling career when you get back to your box of a firehouse.
So, well, also it exposes you to different leader types and different leader styles, and it shows you maybe this is a leader I want to be like. Then maybe you wouldn't see it in your department. You'll run into some leaders you don't like. And you're like, I don't ever want to be like that.
Right.
So there's a lot of that you can take from.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right about that. And I'm glad that you were able to see it because it's one thing to experience it. It's another thing to try to explain it. And it's really kind of hard to explain when, because my initial thing before I got exposed to the fire service as a whole is that the fire department that I worked for in St. Louis was all I knew. And so I thought that was it. That's all you do it. That's it, whatever. And even now I'm finding out you constantly learn with the job in Collinsville. In a couple of weeks, it's going to be a year already. Can you believe that? Wow. But June the 13th. But but what I'm learning is that in Collinsville, we still have same stuff you got in St. Louis as far as firefighting concerns and delivering world-class service to the citizens. However, we're spoiled in St. Louis when it comes to some of these other places. We have hydrants everywhere. We got the mighty Mississippi feeding everything that in the confluence of the Missouri River. We have We got you got 30 firehouses and all these pieces of apparatus, and if I got a first alarm, I call for a first alarm. I can be a little more aggressive because I know everyone's coming to the party right now. You're at
Yes.
fire in the house. You don't care what you do at the firehouse. You're at fire in the house and you think it's somewhere near you. Everyone perks up, like I'm sure they do all over the place. But we perk up. We ready. We getting ready. We thinking, what's the best way to go? Who's gonna be there first? Whatever.
Like
And
first alarm is out the
yeah,
door
yeah,
before the first alarm is stuck.
yeah. We're prepared. We're prepared. And so then by the time we hit the street, we're already primed and ready to go. So we converge on it like just like ants, to put out this house fire in 47 minutes. So we just do it. When you work in a community like Collinsville, who don't have that as many resources, or don't have a hydrant in every corner and all that kind of stuff, you have to get a little more creative about how the resources are deployed when it comes to kinds of types of things. So that becomes another learning curve that's complements of the fire service, and not just thinking everything runs like the St. Louis Fire Department. So it's been a blessing in that sense that, like, wow, I took a lot of stuff for granted, and now I have to re relearn a few things and get a lot more creative, which you would think coming from a bigger city to a smaller city, things would automatically be easier, but it's not. It's more challenging because resources aren't the same, and you have to be more responsible with the mutual aid and the run cards and things that we have to deal with over there. So I'm enjoying that particular ride, and I like it because I'm always talking to you, and we're always discussing being better at our jobs and all that. But the reason I can still say it because I have to continue to be better at mine, and not just philosophical talk about. Back in my day is today, So um, the there in the fire service there are still percentage wise a very small number of female firefighters, even smaller number of officers on the job. And then if you split that hair even more, we talk about minority females on the job. So it whittles down pretty much compared to um, it being a male dominated job and that kind of thing. And sometimes people interpret it as, um, females or can't do it as good, or you got your unique set of challenges. Over the years, I know we've talked, and I know, and you've been, if I can remember, listening to some stuff you have discussed with me. I'm not saying you have to discuss it here, um, but you've had kind of a storied career as far as gaining respect and doing what you need to do to be a great firefighter and all. But tell me what gives you, I don't know, what motivates you to keep working through some of the roadblocks that you deal with that maybe I don't have to deal with, or some of your male counterparts don't have to deal with. Um, Being firefighter, acting captain Jessica Jackson.
Um, some of it's back just to pride and being humble at the same time. Like, I love my job, I love what I do, and I want people to know that I can do it. But at the same time, you have guys coming at you, and so I have to prove them wrong. And I'd rather, from the St. Louis, show me staying, I'll show you better than I can tell you. And so, but at the same time, you got to be humble because you don't want to seem like you're doing too much. I remember a couple years after I got on the job, my captain explained to me that I had to quit doing too much. As a woman, we feel like we have to constantly prove ourselves. And so we're always doing too much to prove that we can do it. And he explained to me that I'd prove myself, and I can do like the rest of the guys. Um, and then in my district, yes. But when you go work with guys who don't know you, still to this day, they'll question you. And luckily, more so now, it's guys that don't know me at all. Even the guys in the city that don't know me, they know of me or they hear stories of me. And so I really don't have to in the city, but it's more so when I do stuff with like the county guys who don't know me, or I take like a hot class out in the county. When I say hot, that's hands on training. And so, I really have to step my game up like I would back in the day. Not so much now here in the city, but there was those times where I had to do more to prove myself that I can do it, where I don't now. I try to explain to some of the ladies on the job that when you get time on, you don't want the guys to remember all your complaining and all your griping. And the guys now tell stories of me of stuff that I did. And yeah, that one day she took the tip right from me, or one day she was pulling steel and almost pulled the wall down, or I want those stories being told of me, not the complaining and griping. So being on a woman on the job, there's uh times that you have to put your foot down and you have to let everyone know what you stand for, but doesn't every leader has to do that, let them know that, we can talk mess and we can cut up and tell jokes, just don't put your hands on me, and so stuff like that, like you got to lay the ground. But I think that's the same with anyone as a leader. You let people know what your expectations are. You know, you uh, be confident in what you do. If you're going to make a choice, stand on it. If not, admit your faults. And I think as a woman, I try to do that. Unbeknownst to that is a great aspects of leaders.
Mm, that's pretty good.
I just love
I
the job.
am.
I think that's a benefit that I love the job. I love what I do. If I
Hmm.
was someone working, working for the state doing something else, and I didn't like my job, the leadership isn't always the best because people are griping, complaining, they don't want to go to work, and luckily I get to go in and make a difference in someone's life. So
When did you figure out you loved the job?
mm, I didn't want to be a firefighter. I didn't.
Now, I remember you saying this, so that's why I asked you. When did you find out you loved the job?
When I went to the eights, it was the academy was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life. It's supposed to be paramilitary. They kind of break you down to build you up. It wasn't as bad as what I heard of boot camp, but similar. And that was kind of rough, but I did it. I took it day by day, and I did it. And I found out I could do that. I was like, well, what else can I do? And then I went to the eights, and I was so lucky. I hear we had a women's symposium last year. In Missouri, we have just a little over 2,000 women in Missouri, female firefighters. And they decided to put on a women's symposium, and I, they invited like 100 women. I think around 80 showed up. And some of those women have horror stories. I was lucky I didn't have that. I had a really good crew, and the guys across the board in my district, the guys like you, Larry, at the eights, guys across shifts, really took me under their wing and taught me how to be a good firefighter. So taught me what leadership was. Some of them taught me the stuff not to do, uh, you know, and so luckily I was able to learn from them. the good stuff about the job, that leaving your bad stuff at home so you could be there for someone to help them. Like Kevin would say, Kevin Shear was one of the best captains I've had, and it was bringing order to chaos. And so that's what we were just trying to do every day. And I was like, I already took care of the elderly, so this was kind of like a step up. I didn't have to wipe butts no more. Now I just wrap them on. But no, it was just the fact that we're making a difference in someone's life. That usually when someone calls 911, they're calling because it's the one of the worst days of their lives. And so, knowing that we could help, I learned that, like, yeah, I love this. I could do this. And working 10 days a month helped a little bit. I was a single parent, 3 kids at home. My kids were asking me, like, Mom, when are you going to go to work?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we're trying to plan. We're trying to plan something, so go to work.
Right? Oh, my son had. But no, yeah, that when I went to the eights and I got to know the guys and they made me play video games with them. I didn't play video games, but it was a team thing. Speaking of team, you said something earlier about the dynamics of a crew. I don't know what you're talking about, but it made me think, when it comes to dynamics of our team at the eights, nobody was perfect. Everybody had their flaws. Everybody had their abilities, and it was just a cohesive team, and it worked. And I think that helped me love the job. Had I went to another firehouse to where maybe it was all older guys and they were ready to done and they griped and complained every day, and I would have fallen in love with it eventually. But a lot has to do with Dave Reineke, Garen Mosby, Steve Bauer, and Kevin Shear. Them guys were phenomenal.
I think a testament to how good that crew was is that you're on the list. Garen made captain, Dave Reineke made captain, and so sometimes when you have a captain who works to empower his crew, and you get captains out of that, then I think that's a lot of credit to Kevin's leadership. I used to respect that because you all were a tight group, and you could see that just how you acted on and off the job. With the gatherings, family gatherings, each other's families and things like that. So, and y'all still call Kevin Dad to this day. So that's kind of a
Oh, we all still talk to this day. 17. So we were together for 8 years. So it was 9 years ago that we split up. People came to us and was like, "Are you guys okay?" And we literally was like breaking up a family and stuff on and off this job. But still to this day, we still text. If something big happens, something big goes on. One of our guys got into an accident some years ago, and we're all texting each other. It's still, someone has a baby, we all text each other. So we're still like family. So, but that's the fire department. One of the benefits of the fire department is that you do come away with family like friends. Larry and David, Missy Lane, you've now become my family because of the many years of us and the fire service. So I love my job.
Yeah, there's a lot of great overreaching things if you are open to that. So it is great family atmosphere. And when we lose, we all hurt when we lost. I know when we lost Ben Polson, um, Jessica had been to the 13 so much over the years and just, coming up and either working or training or cooking or whatever, hanging out. So it was a loss. She felt like she lost a crew member as well. And I'm sure the whole fire department, St. Louis Fire Department, we all lost a family member. But definitely it's more, it hurts more when there's somebody in your own engine house on your own shift. So that's part of that family. If you do leadership right, then everyone should feel it. If somebody dies on your crew, you're like, yeah, okay, what's for dinner?
Right.
Probably Probably not a good
I've been
leadership
probably
model.
doing it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably doing it wrong. I'm thinking, no
Hmm.
compassion. Yeah, I'm not that compassionate, but I mean that hurts, So you got to have a heart.
I will
Um,
say, discussing leadership, Larry, kudos to you too. Um, there was a time in my career where I didn't have the best leadership, and luckily I had Larry, and Larry'd be like, "Oh, we're training on this today," and I would go on my day off and go to his firehouse and train with his guys, just because I didn't have that at the moment. And I still wanted to train. I still wanted to be the best I could, and I was still, granted, you did it back then, but I still do. Heck, last year I went over to the 29s and did forcible entry training with Jeff Weffelmeyer. So, you know, you got to be able to, if you can't do it for yourself, you also got to find the ways to get the information you need, and so as a leader, I can't lead someone if I don't know how to do it myself.
What is that though? Because like recently, there've been a couple of situations that I've been privy to where um, a person would have the opportunity to better themselves in a situation like you saying, "I get my day off, but I want to go and do this training or whatever." And in the cases that I'm thinking about, um, the folks didn't, do that, didn't have that. It's making me wonder about just the way things are today. I'm always telling my wife and my family that, now where it used to be you would have a spirit of excellence. Now people are striving to have a spirit of mediocrity. And so when I hear you say that, that's inspirational. And I'm just wondering if you can articulate what that is in you that makes you say, "Hey, they're having a training over here. I got the choice between chilling or doing something else with my day off or going over here and, improving myself by training on this other thing." Um, can you put that into some kind of words, like what that is that makes you do that?
I mean, everyone's different. And for me, it's just the drive to be a better person tomorrow than I was today. Um, so that way, when I give back, I can give back the better me, uh, for
Mm,
lack of better words. Uh, if I'm not
mm,
getting what I want, I seek it out. I am,
mm,
I like to think that I'm not motivated, but then I look back at some of the stuff I do and I was like, well, I guess I am. But I think it
mm,
takes, there's the fire service is weird. Um, there's so many different aspects to it as far as people go. Some people are followers, some people are leaders. Some people just do what they have to do to get by because it's just 10 days. Let me just do what I have to do because I have a whole other stuff I need to do for the 20 days. Um, so I think it's different for everyone. For me, it's just being the best me, the best firefighter, the best leader. I have kids come to the firehouse. Um, there used to be two women at my house. We used to have the Girl Scouts would come to our house so they could see women in the fire service. And so I just want to represent me the best way possible. And I can't represent me the best way possible if I'm not staying on top of things. I became an evaluator many, many, many years ago with Larry. And my whole drive in becoming an evaluator is because I cannot test you if I don't know it myself. So it made me stay on top of my game as far as firefighter 1 and 2 and hazmat and all that stuff was. Because if I'm testing you or teaching you, then I have to know it myself. And so it was one way of making sure I stayed on top of it. For those other guys that haven't picked up a Fire 1 and 2 book in 10 years, you know, and so I didn't want to be that guy. Last time I was studying for the captain's test, Larry was like, well, you always got to stay in it. Basically, like if you're starting out from scratch with no knowledge, like you haven't picked up a book in the last 10 years, you're already behind the game. So I was really proud because Larry asked me one day, he was like, what are the 5 fire types? He asked me and another person. I knew him right away, but the other person didn't. And it's just a testament that I stayed in training, I stayed in classes, I stayed in teaching, I stayed evaluating. And that was just me. Now, everyone's not like that. They have a whole nother life. They don't, the fire department is just a job. It's not like the fire service to them. I think for people like me and Larry and us, it's a lifestyle. It's not necessarily a job.
That makes sense. I guess I'm speaking to it too, in things that I mean. Obviously, we're talking fire service on this show, but I'm saying just as a person in your life. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to be the best you can at whatever you're doing, whether that's the fire service, whether that's what you do off the fire. You know what I mean? It's just like that thing is becoming more and more rare. So I commend you for that. You know what I mean? Just to try and be the best person you can be. And then consequently that will make you the best firefighter or the best, what have you. Um, but it seems like there's a contentment to half step humanity at this point, and so that's interesting. But,
There's a lot of people just trying to get by, as opposed to, someone once told me that, a candle when it lights, its light will shine onto other things and make them brighter. And so, in my mindset is I want to be that candle, so that way I'm able to shine on other people and make them brighter.
mm-hmm.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think years. I always say I must be the dumbest firefighter ever because if there was something that I thought was going to benefit me or benefit my team, there are a lot of times there are politics in making that happen. Whether you trying to get your department to pay for it, or you're trying to get somebody to work for you, or you're trying to burn days or whatever to do. And sometimes it all worked out perfectly. Sometimes you're just gonna get the department to pay for it. Sometimes people owed you enough days that you could take the training, or whatever. There was a lot of things that fell in place. But more times than not, with me, there were times that all this stuff just didn't fall in place, and I had to put some skin in the game. Maybe burning a day or getting somebody to work for me, or coming out of my pocket, or whatever the case may be. And with all that being said, I wouldn't take any of that back because it gave me such valuable information, or catapulted me ahead of a lot of places where I didn't want to be stuck, just because I just took the risk, and then didn't have to fall into a perfect box of, if it wasn't, if I don't get this compensation of some sort, then I'm not doing it. Because anything, we talked about this before, you want to know everything about something that could kill you. And at that point, I'm not going to learn it because it doesn't fall into a particular matrix of compensation for me, and that's why I'm not going to do it. It becomes the issue. So I can remember, just being teased at the firehouse sometime. Why you doing that? Well, we on the. Well, it don't take all that. Well, why you need that? Well, I guess you're just going to be one of those smart guys. Well, I'm just glad I didn't let it bother me. And I know they weren't necessarily being just mean about it, the teasing stuff like that. But because we tease at the firehouse, that's just what you do. But I just remember sometimes those teasing type of moments just made me want to do it more because I'm weird like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it, or why you doing it, or whatever. And if I think it's getting under your skin some kind of way, or give me something to talk about, I'm gonna do more of it. so, so you gotta
I
give me.
can, I completely agree. You are weird.
Yeah. so,
Like that. That's what.
right,
That's
right,
what I meant.
right.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No,
My
thanks,
bad.
thanks
I'm
for
sorry. Go ahead.
agreeing with me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
the latest I've been hearing is I'm a nerd now because
yeah.
every time I'm at the firehouse, my nose is in a book or on the computer, and so it's funny. I will say also, David, I think politics plays a part in some of it. Some of the departments are going through things, and for like our department, I'm on a promotional list that's 10 years old, and they've yet to promote off of it in the last year. they're giving another captain's test, and so there's some frustration there. And like they're wanting to give new classes, and they want some of us to take them. And there's people out here that I'm not doing it. I'm supposed to be promoted last year. And they want me to take another test. And so there's some politics in it too, because when you don't feel like you're, what's the word I'm looking for, appreciated, and or they, then people kind of get upset, and they're like, well, I'm not going to do nothing for the job. I'm just going to do what I have to. And so I've been seeing that, and then the morale, that plays a part in it. If there's not morale in the department, then, people don't want to go that extra mile.
And that's why I
Sure,
think
I agree with that. It's just that I've always taught my kids and any students that I've had. I'm sorry. Oh, I was just saying, I've always taught them that, even though your check might say, for instance, St. Louis Fire Department or whatever, you actually work for, you know, I'd be working for Dave Inc. And so, yeah, that I'm sure that can have some impact on, like how the organization will be treating you, or how you perceive that will be having some impact on your morale. But some of the things that you're doing and some of the stuff that we're talking about is you being a self-starter, which is the essence of personal leadership, especially when you start talking about that being proactive element of the model. That's, that's a thing where the genesis of your action and your advancement and your investment in yourself is within you, not from outside of you. So in that sense, you better yourself regardless of what the organization is doing, how they see you, how it comes down to, do you allow that to diminish your appreciation for you? And if you don't do that, then you'll still make these moves because you want to be better. Because here's the thing, and then I'll stop. But if the organization that is eroding your morale suddenly has a road to Damascus moment and says, oh my goodness, we've been eroding their morale. Let's do a 180 today. And that happens. Then are you the firefighter you would have wanted to be had they been doing the investment in you and in your morale all the time? You wouldn't be. You would now be at a deficit because you've been allowing your perception of the external factors to dictate how you are as a person or how you are as a professional or what have you, when that should be how you are regardless, which only uh, underscores the reason they should be valuing you more. Do you know what I mean? And so that's just, that's been the way that I've always looked at any job I've had or any endeavor that I've set out on. And when I'm teaching people or giving advice about that, that's always my advice, because you have some pretty, shaky self-worth if it can be very easily swayed by what you think other people think of you.
Hey, Larry, do you remember what my favorite word is? Me and you talk about it. Integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes in with that. That's just in my integrity. That is what I would do regardless if no one was looking. If I wasn't, being paid to do it, or anything else, I would still want to learn. I'd still want to be better. Be a better person tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah, you have to bring, as they say, you have to bring your own weather, and if everything is dictated by the weather, it's somebody else's weather, you don't have any chance of being happy or having any kind of joy or happiness. Um, and it's something you have to fight for sometimes. I mean, you don't wake up every day motivated, whatever, but do you master complaining and blaming abstract things or the system, or do you master developing your own weather? So no matter what you're going through, you weather the storm a lot better than you would. And since that's all we can control, we can choose to control that. Then we can be happy. I won't say be happy with the results, but the results don't take you out, because and that's part of the reason, Jessica, we were talking about a couple of segments ago with this, is that working for the fire service, you kind of expand things, and when you expand things, if things don't work out here because you have such an expansive experience going on, one thing may drop off, but it doesn't affect over here too much. You could take the hit better because you fortified yourself with other things. This don't work out, this promotional thing don't work out, no big deal to you. You're still excellent because you're still investing in yourself. You're about to get your degree, which creates other potential avenues, you know. But if all you were doing was working for your particular fire department, and all it was you getting that education when you came out the academy, and that was 12 years ago, and now your only hope for getting any kind of advancement is you cramming everything from that book, then yeah, you are being wagged by the, you are being maneuvered, you are being used by the system because you haven't expanded, you haven't fortified, and you haven't added to your value based on you. Because you have to take care. You got David kind of alluded to it first. Wherever you work, whether it's the fire department, anywhere, you work for you. Just in Larry Incorporated, David Incorporated, you, Mommy Elaine Incorporated. I'm providing on this agreement services to whatever I choose my profession in. So if my brand is that strong, then I'm going to bring the best uh, me, Larry Incorporated, to the party. And then if this doesn't work out mutual between us, then I'm gonna take my talents elsewhere. But the other day, when you bet on you, you have a better chance of surviving whatever the ebbs and flows or whatever that particular place you find yourself employed. But understand that. I mean, I love being a firefighter. I'm a firefighter through and through. I love being firefighter Conley, Captain Conley, Chief Conley. But at the end of the day, I got to answer to Larry Conley because that's who's in. Because I wasn't born with bars, and my mother didn't name me Chief. You
Although
know.
it was on the list, it was number
Yeah,
three
yeah, I know.
next.
I remember it was Chief, and then, thank God my grandmother saved her from
Right,
that
right,
madness.
right.
but what I'm saying is that that keeps your joy, that keeps your personal leadership, that keeps you coming to the party every day that you got to work your 24 hours and make it successful. Because Jessica Incorporated, that's how she gets down.
Somebody just asked me the other day, so um, David and Missy Lane, I don't know if you know, I'm on a current promotional list. It should have been promoted last year. That's why I'm in an acting captain's position. And we're in litigation, so I can't really talk much about that. But then they're now giving another test. So September 20th, they're going to give another captain's test. And so I'm taking it. But I'm also in college taking college courses. Someone asked me just the other day, why are you taking the captain's test? I said, what? Like, I'm like, with that being said, I'm not going to put all of my ducks in one basket. If the first thing don't work out, then I have the second one. The second don't work out, I have the third. And that's just, kind of reiterating what Larry just said, is, even though I'm on one list, I'm going to make, top five of this next list. Whether I get promoted on the old one or this one, I'm getting promoted. If all else fails, I put it in God's hands. If all else fails, and I'm not, because like when I came on the job, I put it in God's hands. I didn't want to be a firefighter. So God, I'm gonna put this in your hands. This is what you want me to do. I will. Ha! There's no way I'm gonna pass this test. When I got high scores and got on the job, I was like, oh, I guess this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I kind of feel the same thing with this. If you put in the work, I've put in the work. I'm still putting in the work. I have more work to do. If for some reason I don't make captain, it wasn't meant to be. There's something else for me to do. But I still also have college, and I'll be done with it next year. So, as you were saying there.
No, and I was also, I told Jessica that, whatever this test, we shooting for number one. We're gonna do what we can to get up number one. And she was like, oh, number one, that's cute. So I said, well, I told you was gonna kick butt in college, and if Jessica's not gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you, it'll be a year, I think, in August, because I think I remember in August.
A year this month.
A year this month, a year in June then. So for the whole year she's been in college, she's maintained a 4.0 grade point average.
Go ahead, girl.
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have to. I said, you're gonna kick butt and you're gonna be a 4.0 student. You'll see. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. College has been so long ago, and college online. 4.0, this one. 4.0. So my point is that you could do anything you put your mind to, especially her. So I'm glad that after 17 years, she's still learning. She's become a mentor to others and a leader to others. It's not just, just on the job, doing the job, and every time she has a question, she calls me. There's a lot of stuff that I find out after the fact. She did it, like, okay, well, great, I agree. Or sometimes I don't agree, but it's her life, her career, and she does a great job of managing it. But what I always laugh at, sometimes we have these discussions where she's having this self-doubt thing, and I'll listen and listen and listen, and I'll say, I don't believe that. I believe that this is going to happen. And she'll say, well, that's a far stretch. How can you believe? I said, I believe you can do it. 4.0 grade point average, steady. Not 4.0, 2.0, yeah, get back up there, like flatline, 4.0 the whole time. And I tried that. I landed somewhere at 3.8. So she's I'm still waiting for her to fail because it's competitive, No, I'm joking for you. I'm so glad that she's doing it. She's stacking the deck, and like you said, no matter what happens, she's going to be up. And that all circles back as we conclude to
personal leadership.
Practice of personal leadership. You're doing it, and you epitomize what David and I teach. And I'm really glad that you do. I'm glad that it's been a great 17-year experience with you, and looking to many more and see what we're going to be talking about in the future. So as we wrap this up, we're going to go around and have some closing words from. We'll start. We'll let Jessica have her closing words. We have David, Mommy Elaine, then I'll back clean up.
I guess if you want me to say something about leadership, I don't know how to close out a podcast.
4.0.
I guess the main thing is it all starts with yourself. Knowing who you want to be, what type of person you want to be. Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be a follower? Not everybody wants to be a leader. Not everybody can, and so it's one of those things that you got to find out for yourself. If that's the route you're going, make sure you find some leaders that you want to be like. That was in that class that I did that I made up, and it was had a little bit of leadership in it. And it was talking about if you want to be a leader, you go find those leaders. I did. I have Larry Conley's and Kevin Shears and, these guys in my life that I look up to and are great leaders. And so, not only do I learn from them, I sometimes mimic them. Sometimes I think, what would Kevin Shear do? What would Larry Conley do? What would God do? What would Jesus do? But, those are all the leaders that you want to be like. And so, until you develop your own leadership style and your leadership patterns, and, that's the best way to get started for me.
Just addressing the thing about some people want to be followers. The interesting thing is that it takes principally a degree of leadership to be a good follower. not everybody is even a good follower. If you don't apply those principles correctly, your lack of good followership jacks the team up as much as a lack of good leadership. Anyway, I'm really proud of you. I'm really happy about you taking, the initiative to be the better you. Um, 17 years and you're still standing tall, and that's mainly because you just are, you know.
Because of
Uh,
history.
but anyway, but the point is, really, you're an inspiration, in that way. Because I mean, I just been struck by that a lot lately um, about the complaint being on one level, but the effort to mitigate that complaint, as in you trying to have the initiative to do better, to affect change in any situation, not being that is a prevalent thing now. And so it's very, very inspirational to see somebody who is not operating on that wavelength all the time. And so it gives me, hope for humanity, if you will. But so, I commend you. Good job. Keep doing what you do. So.
My turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay. Y'all did a good job. Just listening to you. But I want to really compliment Jessica for being persistent and all the obstacles I'm sure that you ran into being a female in a male dominated profession was very challenging. But you're still here. You're still in it. And you're growing in it and you're exceeding in it. And so you keep that whole mindset up, you keep that whole whatever was motivating you, you keep that going because we need people who can personally lead themselves as the boys are doing, or the men and my sons are doing, having personal leadership classes and all these kinds of things. That's where it all begins, especially when you choose to go into a profession that's dominated by people that are not like you. And so I'm proud of you for sticking it out all these years, coming as far as you have, and succeeding. And you will continue to do that. You keep that same pace and that same mindset. And I'm pulling for you, praying
Thanks,
for
man.
you. Hmm.
I just want to say that, I know you say you look up to me, but that's not true. I look up to you. Yeah.
No, no, really.
I'm only 6'3". There's a lot of people that look up to me.
But seriously, folks, but I was gonna say that you already. I don't want you to, and I've always tried to make sure that I talk to you in a way that you understood that um, you don't fit into anybody's box. None of us should try to. You've already
Mm-hmm.
won. Whatever, however the future shakes out with promotions or whatever the case may be, you already won, and you already won not because you're sitting around saying the Lord is just going to show me the way. You obviously have meditated, prayed, and you're actively doing things to make your life better. You make your life personally. You raise some award-winning, world-class children. You got two great grandbabies in here. You are a great daughter to your mother. You're a great friend. Um, I I can't think of anybody I could depend on more when I need stuff, professionally or personally. So in a lot of ways, you've already won. You're already a winner. And what you don't need is a badge or a promotion or anything else uh, to validate that. You've already validated it in just how you live your life with your integrity, how you live your life and just taking off. You're one of the few people I know because I've never done that before, but I'm gonna try it. And then I know, like, did Jessica invent the Tesla? Man,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
stolen. guy named Elon, but the girl is.
Mhm.
So, but what I'm saying is that you've already won, and so you've already won because you've mastered your personal leadership, and just keep on doing it. We all got flaws. We all got stuff we got to improve on. We all got things that we could do better. We all wake up every day with a chance to do it better. So I'm not talking about you perfect, because none of us are. But what I am saying is that you won. You came into the eights 17 years ago. We looked at her, we looked at you and said you were worth investing in. Garen looked at you, Alex Holt looked at you, I looked at you, and Kevin Shear, and we all said, let's make this one a winner. And I think we've succeeded. In what badge be damned, it doesn't matter. You're a winner already. So I just want you to know that coming from your mentor, and that's something a mentor would say to me. I got a few mentors. One main mentor just passed, of course, but just have to keep on keeping on, so to speak. Um, but I'm glad that you believe in me because you've seen me believe in people that have paved the way for me. I know me and you talked about that not too long ago. It's hard to submit to somebody's teaching if you don't see them submitting to people's teaching. So I'm glad that I was able to model that and keep modeling it. But thank you for being the epitome of leader without without the promotion, a leader without the badge. Because I know anytime if I pull up just by surprise to a 22s, chances are Jessica got some ropes out, some ladders out, some hoses out, and she got some stuff she's training on. She got some books open, and she don't have to do it. She could very well be like, I'm a motivated person on the list that may or may not go. Why should I be investing in any of this mess? But she does it anyway, and that makes me very happy, and I'm not emotional. I won't get emotional, but that makes me very happy in that regard. So keep doing what you do, keep leading, keep keeping your crew safe, and what's yours is yours. It'll come. David says it all the time. He goes to these auditions. What's his is his, and what ain't is ain't. It's somebody else. But it's not here for everybody. So keep doing it. Keep pushing. Anyway, we're going to wrap up this segment and check us out. BlueNationLDC.com. See where we are in the world. I know we're going to be at the Carl Holmes EDI Executive Development Institute. Then we got the Foods Convention coming up, and just a host of other places we're going to be. If you got something for FDIC, please don't hesitate to submit it. I think the deadline is coming up in a couple of weeks, so make sure you get it in so you can join us next year at the biggest, baddest gathering of professional firefighters and instructors in the world. 35,000 strong, coming out of Indianapolis every year in April in a little family reunion we like to call FDIC. So check that out. Continue to support a new segment in these podcasts. I'm liking it. You get to see who you're talking to, and it's cool. Thank God. Thank a lot of credit goes to our new fearless leader, Chief Dave Rhodes, and Diane Feldman, and as they move ahead past us losing an icon in the business. So, but have a great summer. Stay hydrated. Stay safe. Keep training. Hey, if you're an officer, don't let acting captain Jessica Jackson outwork you and outtrain you. You bona fide official officer. Don't let her do it. Don't let a silver badge lead better than you. Don't let a silver badge outwork you, outtrain you. Don't do it. If I see it, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna laugh at you. Don't do it. Don't let her do it, y'all. Don't let her outtrain you. Don't do it. She's doing it. So anyway, so we'll see you with our next special guest in about 7 weeks, and have a great summer, and stay safe until we talk to you again. Bye bye.
Good night.
Good night.